Hey everyone, I finished watching the next Time Force episode, Lovestruck Rangers. I wasn't really looking forward to this one. It's not one of my favorite Time Force episodes. It's an okay episode. It's just, not really up to the, usual quality of the episodes, and rewatching it now, it really stands out, as this is definitely, the weakest Time Force episode, I think. Or possibly the next one. The next episode preview reminded me, oh yeah, I didn't really care for the next one either. It's really weird to have a string of unimpressive Time Force episodes, but whatever. The weird thing is it's still actually pretty good. I still like the episode. It's still an enjoyable one. It's not one that I'm groaning through or I want to yell at the screen when I'm watching it. So anyway, starts off, the Rangers go out to do their list of odd jobs, and Lucas encounters this girl, Angelique, and they really hit it off. She mentions about how she likes fast cars, and he's like, I used to be a race car driver, and it looks like there's a relationship building. He takes her hand, he sees this weird snake bracelet thing that zaps him, and then something weird is going on, and we see Frax watching on. And then theme song plays, back to the episode. We see. Let's see. Oh yeah, Trip is out doing some odd job when suddenly he sees this old robot thing coming up to him that looks awfully familiar if you've seen Time Ranger, and this girl runs after it, and they start talking. And she's talking about, oh, I built this robot myself. And he's like, wow, I built a robot too. And again, it feels like there's a relationship building here. And then she zaps him with the bracelet and he falls in love with her. So what's the point of building up some shared interests if you're just gonna zap them with the bracelet anyway? Why not just use the bracelet to begin with? All I can guess is that possibly for it to work, they have to have some kind of genuine feeling of love to begin with for the thing to affect them. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever. She goes over to where Frax is hiding. She turns into a mutant and she says, "Two down, one to go, ha ha ha," which is kind of a weird thing, because, okay, I get it, yeah, there's 3 Time Force Rangers, but what about Eric? Eric has Power Ranger powers, too. Isn't he a threat to Rancic? Does she just forget Rancic? Or did she forget Eric exists? That's one of the weird plot holes in this episode, is just the placement of the episode. This feels like it should be a way earlier one from before Eric got his powers. Whatever. Anyway, back at the clock tower, Lucas is getting all ready for a date, and Jen and Katie are teasing him about it. Trip comes in, just and they're all like, "Oh, Trip, what's up with you? I met a girl I like," and they're like, "Oh, good for you." And so then we see Wes out doing something, and the mutant in human disguise tries to attract him, and he shows zero interest. And it's kind of funny that the mutant gets kind of flustered by, he doesn't like me, what's wrong with him? So then she just zaps him with the bracelet, which, okay, I kind of wondered at the beginning, why didn't she just zap everybody with the bracelet to begin with? Unless she likes trying to seduce people. I don't know, maybe it's her thing, who knows, whatever. Um, so anyway, back to Clock Tower. There's a funny little bit where Jen tells Katie, "I'm so happy Trip and Lucas are dating." And the way she says it, it sounds like Trip and Lucas themselves are literally going on a date with each other, which is a funny idea. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, then they see Wes getting all ready for a date, and you can see this look on Jen's face, it's kind of weird that they're all so super into some girls suddenly, and all going on a date at the same time. So then, Wes, Lucas, and Trip are all going to meet up with Angelique, and they all bump into each other and realize, oh, we're all dating the same girl. However, and here's the one thing with the bracelet. The bracelet was kind of a weird idea because it's magic that puts a spell on people, and that hasn't really been a thing in Time Force or Lightspeed much, really. I don't think. Yeah, the whole magic thing that makes the Rangers act a certain way is a very Mighty Morphin Zeo type of thing. Or Turbo type of thing, also. That's what it reminds me a lot of. This whole episode repeats a lot of beats. Kind of similar to the last episode, actually, Last Race. That repeated a lot of beats from, like, previous episodes about Rangers who are friends with some villain who was a former, like, friend of theirs, or the racing episode in Lost Galaxy. This episode repeats a lot of beats from episodes like Goldar's Vice Versa, where Scorpina returned, and she was in, like, a human disguise, and all the guys are, like, immediately taken with her, except for Aisha, who's like, I don't like her, something's weird, something's off. Or, Best Man for the Job, where Kimberly and Tommy are put under a spell, and they spend the whole episode fighting with each other. It's kind of similar here, where the bracelet makes Lucas, Trip, and Wes act really irrational, and they don't stop to think, oh, it's weird that she made a date with all three of us, and yeah, so then they just start arguing over who she likes best, and then meanwhile, she calls Frax just sees, I don't remember, but anyway, he calls Rancic and Adira and the Cyclobots, they all go out, start causing trouble, Jen and Katie go to fight Rancic, Circuit tries to call Wes, only Wes, not Lucas and Trip, whatever, anyway, Wes goes off, he's like, what is it? The girls need your help. Rancic's attacking. Not right now. That. And he just blows off Circuit, and then he goes back to arguing with the others over Angelique. And then eventually, let's see. Oh yeah, we see at the fight with Rancic, Jen and Katie are fighting with Rancic, and they're losing, and it looks like Rancic might actually really kill them, but then his mutation starts acting up, and his arms are bubbling up, and he's like, I need my serum. He pulls out the serum bottle, Jen overhears, and she like, shoot it, bang, and they blast the serum out of his hand, no! And then, so him and Nadira have to retreat back to their base, and I guess they take the Cyclobots with them. Whatever. And so then later at the clock tower, Jen is scolding Wes, Trip, and Lucas about, you didn't join the fight because you were fighting over some girl? And you can see she's starting to, like, think, okay, something's weird here. Is the girl, like, a mutant in disguise or something? One of the things I really like in Time Force is you can see a lot in their faces, and it, like, shows more than, like, what they say. But then her suspicions die down a bit when Wes tells the other, okay, guys, let's agree, we're not gonna see that girl anymore, right? And they get up, and, yeah. There's still a tiny bit of suspicion in Jen, but at this point, she's like, okay, they're just being dumb. But then, let's see. The next day, Jen gets a call saying that Wes never finished his job. So then he goes out to see where Wes went, and he sees him with Angelique. And then she gets a call from Circuit saying that he's detected mutant DNA in the area. She goes back to the clock tower and searches up who the mutant could be, and they see it's a Contemptra, who uses a magic bracelet to put people under a love spell. And one of the weird things with this is, was that what she was in cryostasis for in the first place? Or, like, was she imprisoned for a completely different reason? Because why did Time Force let her keep the bracelet? If they have records of this is what it does, why didn't they take it away? Unless that wasn't what she was imprisoned for. So I'm guessing she must have been in prison for something else if they didn't bother to take away the source of the power she has. Although later on, she zaps out of her eyes, so... I don't know, maybe the bracelet just amplifies her power? But anyway, in that case, still, take it away. Like, if you're put in prison and you're wearing jewelry, the jewelry gets taken away. I mean, you get it back when you're let out, so I don't know, maybe in the base Rancic's in, she had her belongings there, kind of like that one guy with the voice changing device. Maybe he wasn't actually frozen with it. Rancic just had it in the base. I don't know. Maybe I think I'm thinking way too deep into this. So anyway, oh yeah, Lucas and Trip see Wes, they go over and they start arguing with him, and then she zaps them with her eyes, and they start to fight. They morph, they keep fighting. Oh, and they're in the park now. The park from Mighty Morphin. So that's kind of nostalgic to see a fight scene going on in the park. Jen and Katie show up, they try to stop Contemptra, and then they target Contemptra's bracelet, they blast the bracelet, that breaks the spell. She grows, they get the Megazord, standard Megazord battle, she's down, back to the clock tower. Everything's back to normal. Wes is talking to Jen about the fight, and he was like, you were really intense in that fight. It was like it was personal or something. And she's like, no, it wasn't. And he's like, yeah, well, Contemptra, when she was human, she was really hot, or whatever. And Jen's like, that's really your type? It's such a funny conversation. Anyway, they banter back and forth. They start to get close. It looks like they're gonna kiss, but then the phone rings and interrupts everything. And then we get the next episode preview for the episode where, what's going on? This guy takes pictures of the Rangers unmorphed, and for some reason that reveals their identities. Alright, whatever. So anyway, okay, episode. The weirdest thing is that Eric and the Silver Guardians aren't there. Also, the whole magic bracelet thing is kind of a weird fit for Time Force of all seasons. That's really a thing that would have made more sense back in, like I said, Mighty Morphin, Zeo Turbo, like even in Space Lost Galaxy. Oh, what was that? We'll get back up there. Whatever. Thought it might be neat to have some little figures up there, but, whatever. Anyway, yeah, the magic thing is kind of weird because most of the time in Time Force, the mutants' abilities are their own abilities. They're some kind of like naturalistic abilities, or it's kind of like an X-Men mutant type of thing where they have some kind of inherent ability. Adding magic just kind of muddies the whole thing. So, whatever. Let's see. Oh yeah, one of the things that this episode reminded me a lot of was back in Beetleborgs. There's an episode where, I can't remember exactly what the plot was. There was this magic medallion that made whoever looked at it fall in love with the person wearing it. The grandmother finds it, she goes up to Hillhurst to find where the kids went, and the monsters that haunt the house, they all look out and they see the medallion and fall in love with her. And this episode reminded me a lot of that. So I'm wondering if there was any influence from that, possibly. And one of the other things I was thinking about when I was watching this was it's not a very good Time Force episode. However, in general, in Power Rangers, this is an okay episode. It's acceptable. It's standard. It's got silly things. It's got problems. But overall, it's a fine episode. And it really shows that the cast and crew and everybody, they were really experienced by this point. The crew especially, because in the past, this episode would have come off like really awkward and probably really, really bad. But since they're really experienced and they fine-tuned everything about the show. They've been working on it for so long. Even a bad episode turns out at least acceptable. It's kind of weird to compare it to now, where the same crew has basically been there since Dino Charge, but if you were to look at Dino Charge versus now, there's not a whole lot of improvement. If anything, it's gotten worse. Like, it went downhill. However, there are, like, ups and downs to Power Rangers now. Like, there's strong moments in Dino Fury. There's really weak moments in Dino Fury. Continuity is definitely a big one. Like, character motivations are kind of wonky, and, yeah. Like, I haven't seen all the new episodes, but I've been seeing stuff about, like, Ollie, and, he's not doing too well as a character, apparently. And, the other thing is, like, a lot of, common mistakes they would make in earlier Power Ranger seasons, they do them less and less as the original Saban era went on. Like problems, like, I'm thinking like in Lightspeed, there's an episode where they use Japanese footage, and it's like weird Japanese footage where Carter noogies Dana or something. Back in Turbo, there's a scene they kept where Adam, like, spins around for no reason. It should have been cut out. However, now, they've kind of learned, okay, we can cut that stuff, reshoot everything, and the Japanese and American footage, like, you can tell when it switches footage because of the camera quality, the image quality, whatever, but it does sync up a lot better than it did in the past. Whereas, compare that to now, they'd make the same mistakes every year, and make new mistakes. Like, the comedic duo characters, no one likes them, kids don't like them, fans don't like them, like, there's no one who really, like, even at best, like, Victor and Monty have their fans, crap up with their names in Beast Morphers, the brother and sister characters. Like, people did like them, but they were just so overly cartoony and goofy and just completely obliterate the tone they're going for. Now they have Jane and Jayborg. Jayborg was kind of a cool little idea because, oh, neat, Hartford Electronics or Robotics, whatever. And Jane was kind of an interesting character initially, who immediately, like, changed and got really goofy. Kind of like Prince Vicar. Huh. Well, anyway, the other thing is like the playing old clips and completely redubbing them with just the worst cartoon voices. Man, that's jarring and awful. However, they have like gotten slightly better, but they're still doing it. And they don't need to. They could play the clips silent if they really need to. However, from what I've seen of Dino Fury, they didn't even need to play those old clips. They definitely didn't need to play clips with sound over them. All they needed was just to show the image. They didn't need to actually have audio. That was a really dumb thing, and it's a mistake that they keep making. Like, when was it? Was it Beast Morphers? Yeah, Making Bad was the first time they played old clips and they redubbed them with just horrible voices. And then, Dino Fury, last year they did the same thing, and this year they've done the same. Oh wait, did they do it in Dino Fury? Yeah, I think they did do it in Dino Fury again. So anyway, yeah, it's an annoying thing that they should know better by now. Like, if they know they don't have the rights to the audio or whatever, then don't pick a clip with audio, or just mute it, put an effect over it. There's so many ways around this thing, and they just don't care. Meanwhile, back in Time Force, they've really learned like how to hone everything, and everything just runs really smoothly because they had such an experienced crew. I think that's one of the problems with Power Rangers now, is they keep swapping out the crew. When Disney took over, we had some people back who had worked in like Zeo and Mighty Morphin, and they brought that kind of sensibility back, and it kind of felt like a return to that kind of a tone that Zeo and Mighty Morphin had. And then after Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder, we had a new crew come on, and they had their own ideas about how Power Rangers should go. And let's see, Greg Aranowitz really pushed the direction that SPD had, but then he was gone the next season with Mystic Force, and Mystic Force Overdrive Jungle Fury were headed by Bruce Kalish, who had his own kind of feel for the series, and they do all kind of feel consistent with each other in terms of quality and how things are handled. But then he was gone, and RPM had a completely new crew who only was there for that one season. And then Samurai had Zacker back, and a lot of the crew from like Wild Force, and this kind of felt a lot like how Wild Force was. Then there was Mega Force, which was just weird, and I don't know what happened. So anyway, just a weird thing I was thinking of, and man, this is a weird tangent that I went on that has absolutely nothing to do with this episode. Whatever. Anyway, fun, dumb episode of Time Force. It's not the best. I don't know if it's the weakest yet. I think the next one might be worse, but I don't know for sure, because I haven't watched it in a while. So maybe it's better than I remember. So yeah, see ya next time. See ya.